Good morning, Major Stout. Good morning, fellow cadets. My name is Cadet Edmund, and today I will be giving a short briefing on the life of General Colin Powell and some leadership lessons to be learned from him. So to start, I'll go over the history and the background of General Powell. Then I will talk about some examples of leadership in regards to human relations and how he dealt with difficult people, team building, and then lastly, conflict management. So to start, General Powell was born April 5th, 1937 in Harlem, New York to Jamaican parents. While he was at college, the City College of New York, he found Army ROTC, and that's where he truly found his calling in life. He said he loved it, and so he continued on, and that's what propelled his career to what it is today. So he continued into the military, and he served in Vietnam twice with two different tours. In the first tour, he was wounded by a punji stick. In the second tour, he was wounded in a helicopter crash, saw lots of different combat, was awarded many different medals, including the Purple Heart from these experiences. In 1989, he was appointed as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the highest military office, and he was the first African American to do so. Then later, he was called to be the 65th Secretary of State, and until Obama's administration, he was the highest ranking African American government official. So to start, I want to talk about human relations and how he dealt with difficult people. It's pretty obvious, him starting his career in the early 60s, late 50s, around that time period, that he encountered a lot of racism. And I thought it was really interesting what he said about that, and I think it'd be applied to everyone on how to deal with difficult people. So he said, first and foremost, you need to evaluate your priorities. Then you need to never give in to self-destructive rage. No matter how much you really want to give in, as long as you don't give into it, you'll be good to go. And never let others' perceptions define you or put you in a box. Feeling challenged is a good way to overcome those difficult people. He said, just take it, look at it as a challenge, and then overcome it. This quote by him says, if I was going to be confined to one end of the playing field, then I was going to be the star on that part of the field. I think that pretty well sums up his point of view on that challenge of racism and how to deal with those difficult people. Next, I want to talk about team building and how he did that as a young second lieutenant with his soldiers beneath him. He said competition was the greatest form of team building that he found. He was able to make competitions of just about anything. He said he would make competitions for rifle cleaning, for barracks cleaning, anything that could be rewarded and kept track of, he would make a competition out of it because he said it helped build self-esteem and confidence in the soldiers that he was leading. And he said that's what the Army gave him. The Army gave him confidence, and so he wanted to let the soldiers beneath him have that same confidence, and so he loved to use competitions. And I think we all can use competitions too to help build whatever teams we are leading. He said the healthiest competition occurs when average people win by putting in above average effort. And that applies to everyone, no matter your level, your rank, whatever it is. If you're putting in above average effort, you are going to build your team and you're going to win. Lastly, I want to talk about conflict management and what I call the body armor debacle. When serving in Vietnam, he was told to shadow some of the indigenous forces there and kind of learn from them and also help guide them, but he was not in charge. And so the point men that they had on all of these different patrols, they kept getting ambushed and they kept getting killed repeatedly. And the Vietnamese soldiers did not like wearing body armor. And it was because it was heavy, it was too big on them, and it was a really sweaty jungle. And so, patiently, but persistently, he continued to discuss this with the leaders of the Vietnamese people. He was very persistent, but also let them take charge. And he collaborated with them until finally they agreed to listen and they started wearing body armor in those point positions. And from that, he was able to save lives. In fact, in the very next day that the point man was wearing body armor, he turned around, got shot in the back, and it saved his life. And from there, he was able to build a lot of trust with the Vietnamese indigenous people. So lastly, I want to go over what I talked about. I gave the history of General Powell. I gave some examples of leadership, how he was able to deal with difficult people, especially racism, how he was able to build his teams through competition, and how he was able to effectively collaborate with the indigenous Vietnamese people through conflict management. This concludes my briefing. Are there any questions?